Hey, grade seven, and welcome to today's session. Today we're going to be covering a new story or a new reading literature by the name of A Retrieved Reformation, and your author is O. Henry. A little bit of background that we're going to share with you regarding the story. Your author's name is O. Henry, like I mentioned, and if we look at the title, A Retrieved Reformation, and a reform means to be basically to reshape or to start over. Retrieved is something that you lost once and you're getting it back. So here we can guess that the story is going to discuss or talk about a person who is looking to reform themselves or rehabilitate themselves or become a better person. And your author is O. Henry. And if you look at the big question here, it is discussing whether who deserves a second chance. So when you give someone a second chance, it's someone probably that you feel deserves or that you see potential in them. Maybe they messed up one time or they went the wrong path one time, but they can redeem themselves and become better people. Okay? So, first thing, O. Henry, his real name is William Sidney Porter. Um, and then we were gonna discuss how did O. Henry, how was the term, the name O. Henry established. He was born in North Carolina, and he left school. He dropped out at the age of 15, and he moved to Texas. While in Texas, in Austin, Texas specifically, he worked as a banker. He worked in a bank, and after 2 years of working for this bank, he was accused of embezzling. All right, embezzling money, which means it comes from the noun of embezzlement, which means to take money that is not yours or stealing money from the bank. Of course, when he was accused with this, he panicked. He was afraid and he tried to elude, and he ran off to Honduras, which is a country outside of it's a country, a Hispanic country. A year later, he came back to the United States because his wife was dying and he wanted to see her. Upon his arrival back to the United States, he was caught and he was sent to prison for 3 years. Okay. While in prison, he took on the pen name, which is O. Henry, because he started writing while he was in prison. And some theory says that he borrowed the name O. Henry from the guard, his prison guard. His name was Orrin Henry, so he used his name as a pen name to get his books released. All right. Again, he was very famous. He's a very famous writer, and he's very known for his surprise endings. Okay, and a surprise ending is a way of basically the story ending in a way that is not expected. Okay, you would think that it would end differently. Okay, so this is a little bit of background of the author and your story. All right, your reading skill for this story is narration or point of view. Okay, and starting with what is point of view? Point of view tells you where does your narrator stand in the story. First of all, we need to know what a narrator is. The narrator is the person that or the voice that is speaking to you or speaking to the reader and telling them the story. All right. Please do not confuse the narrator with the author because they could be two different people. In some genres, though, the author could be the narrator. In cases of diaries or memoirs or even autobiographies, you could have the author, which is the person that wrote the story, also tell you the story because again, he or she are they're sharing events or things that happen in their lives. Okay, but in this scenario, in our story, A Retrieved Reformation, your author is O. Henry, but your narrator is definitely not the author. He's a character outside of the story. Okay, we have two different points of views that we're going to learn about: first person point of view and third person. There is a second, but we do not cover it in your curriculum. Okay, first person is when the narrator is in the story and he or she is a character in the story and they are sharing the story from their perspective. So again, how can I tell if first person narration or first person point of view is being used is when the narrator talks about themselves using the pronoun I, me, or us, because again, he or she is in the story, telling the story from how they see it or how they view it, and sharing their feelings with us. So again, whenever you see I went to the store, I went on a trip, we had a good time. Again, all these pronouns are helping you realize that your narration is first person. Okay, third person narration is divided into, first, let me tell you that the third person point of view is when your narrator or the person telling you the story is not in the story. Okay, they're outside of the story telling us a story about a he or a she or a they or a them. Okay, so if I was to tell a story about grade seven, I would say they went to the to Cairo festival. They had a good time. She got sick. He was excited. Again, I'm outside of the story. I'm just telling the story as an outside narrator. Third person is divided into 2 points or two kinds: limited and omniscient. Limited is again when the author reveals two things. We're concerned with feelings and thoughts because feelings and thoughts are both internal things that we cannot understand without them being told to us. Okay, I cannot know what you're thinking or how you're feeling unless you share that with me. So third person limited is when the narrator tells us the feelings and thoughts of only one character in the story. Okay, so if you have a story that has multiple characters and you're only able to know or learn about the thoughts and feelings of one of them from the story and from the narrator, then you have third person limited. Okay. When is it omniscient? Omniscient, first of all, is divided into omni and shint, which means all knowing. Okay. And all knowing here means that your narrator is not only telling you the feelings and thoughts of one character, but it's more than one character. Okay. So the thoughts of several or all characters, or just as much as more than one, is being told and explained to us. Okay. If we look at the story as an example, Mr. Johnson looked at Charles sternly. He simply didn't know what to do with this boy. So from the get-go, we already see the word he, and we see the character names Mr. Johnson. Therefore, we already know that we're dealing with third-person point of view. So now it's a question of, is it limited or is it omniscient? All right. Charlie had been in Mr. Johnson's office twice earlier this week. Now here he was again, and this time he was charged with something much more serious. Mr. Johnson shook his head. There really was no doubt in his mind. Let's pay attention to the sentence. There really was no doubt in his mind. That means the character's thoughts are being expressed. So here we see that Mr. Johnson's thoughts are being revealed. He believes that Charles is guilty. Okay, so this is his thoughts. This is how he's thinking. Do we know anything about Charles? No, we don't. We only know that he was convicted or charged with something, but we don't know how he feels or how he thinks. He looked at the police officer standing next to Charles. No question whatsoever, Charles has done it. So here again, we see that he is definitely certain in his mind that Charles has committed whatever he was convicted of. So again, this is an example of third person limited because only Mr. Johnson's feelings and thoughts are being expressed in the story. All right, if you look at the next example, we would see, I cannot believe what is happening to me. I know that I'll never convince Mr. Johnson and the cop that I had nothing to do with this man. So here your narrator is Charles himself, and he's discussing or talking about himself in I can't believe what's happening to me. So you already see the pronoun I and me. Therefore, it is first person point of view. All right, example C, Officer Wiley looked at Charles and scratched his head. All the evidence pointed to Charles' guilt, but the officer just couldn't be sure. So we already know that the officer is uncertain. Mr. Johnson, on the other hand, knew that Charles was guilty. So we know the mentality or the thoughts of Mr. Johnson, that he knows Charles is guilty. So far we know the officer's feelings and thoughts. We know Mr. Johnson's thoughts. So therefore, you already know that you would have a third person omniscience. Okay, so this is your narration. If you guys check SMS, you'll see that there is a narration point of view worksheet that is there for you to answer. And I will be discussing it with you guys in an extra care session to see, check your answers and to see what your mistakes are. Please start reading the story, A Retrieved Reformation. If you check your weekly plan, you'll see the page number is listed in the weekly plan. So open up your literature book and start reading. We already started in class. We covered a few pages, so I would like for you guys to keep up and until we meet inshallah for extra care, and then we can discuss it further. Okay, this is it for today, and I hope that you guys enjoy the story. Good luck.